going to see.
Oh, rain.
Oh, it's just started raining. Beautiful. That's beautiful. Hi. Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday afternoon. I'm coming to you from the deck of the Maverick. And it's a beautiful afternoon. It's not too hot here.
It's just started raining, and lucky we've got our awning and deck on the tiny home.
We're sitting underneath the awning. Clouds are coming in. It's very, very dark over in the Highlands. But the garden looks great, Rick. You've been out here mowing today. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, every man loves a good lawn. It's all about the edges. It's all about the edges.
So welcome. Welcome to another Havenwood Tiny Home Live. Today we were going to talk to you a little bit about some of the hurdles that you might be experiencing in achieving your tiny home dream. But yeah, so welcome to you all from Jamberoo in New South Wales. I'd love to know if anyone from overseas is watching. That would be cool. Oh, but it's probably like the middle of the night or something, so they'd be asleep. So that's okay. They can watch later. I hope that you can hear us okay. I'll spin around now. Hi.
G'day. There you go.
So I'm just going to put this like that. Is that good?
Yep, good to go.
So, have you had a good week? We've had a big week.
Had a massive week, yeah. Been pretty flat out. We actually started a apprentice carpenter on a couple of weeks ago. At the moment, we're a little bit behind in the grounds works here, so he's given me a bit of a hand actually.
In New Zealand, hi. Awake, great.
They're
nice
awake.
To see you. So yeah, and he's been doing a bit of tiny home building and also a bit of grounds work here for us as well. So we had a big week. One of our foster children has moved on from our home, which still leaves 4 more here, but he needed a home that wasn't as busy as ours. It was a little bit too stimulating for him here, and he's moved on to another beautiful couple that don't have any other children in their home, and we just hope and pray it's going to be a great life for him, and we miss him, and it's all emotional, and we won't get into it because I'll start crying, because I cry on commercials and all those things. So so if you've got any comments or questions as we're chatting today, please type them up, and if we miss them we can come back and answer them next week, or we can attempt to answer them as they come up on the screen. So let's jump in, shall we?
Yeah, let's crack into it, darling.
All right. So some of the hurdles that people have said that they have is that they don't know where to start. Firstly, where do they start with tiny homes?
Where do they start with tiny home building? Well, if you jump obviously on the net, there's quite a few companies now that are actually doing tiny homes. And right around Australia, which is great. That gives people a great opportunity to look at different models, different makes, different styles. A lot of people, they've got a bit of a theme. I know our theme is probably like Australian colonial, I guess,
It's got more of a country flavour, I think.
A bit more of a country flavour.
Although the Emerson that we're doing now is very city, it's very slick, it's minimalistic, very different for us.
Yeah,
but I think it'll...
Sharp and clean lines, and I guess we just wanted to appeal to another part of the market, just to broaden our horizons, and it's not necessarily our style, but a lot of people love that style, and I'm happy to facilitate that for them, you know.
One thing we won't be is all white, I don't think.
Yeah.
With our children, I mean, there's no point having white walls. Just no point.
Not without trying.
No. So it's got to be stuff we can gurney off really quickly.
Yeah.
So obviously most people are watching the channels, all the YouTube channels and the Facebook pages and all the things that there are out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, too much information. So I would give a tiny home builder a call, and in your area, or for us here, we can do video chats with you.
Yeah, looking at perhaps style to start with, perhaps looking at reputation and some feedback, whatever they might have on the Google, and and maybe people they've talked to or references or something like that, just to check them out in the first place. I was just during the week I was following up, ringing one of our databases and just with follow-up calls, and a couple that had come to see me had bought another home for about half the price, and but unfortunately the company had gone broke before they even got delivery. So that was really unfortunate. So I think it sort of pays to do a little bit of homework on the company that you're dealing with, because you want to make sure if you're putting your hard-earned money into something, you want to know that you're going to get a delivery, you know.
Exactly.
So, and often cheap is not necessarily the best. So
we know that, don't we?
Yeah,
we know that with furniture, with food. We know that there's two things. You can have cost or price, can't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Because
like the price you're only going to pay once, but the cost you're going to live with forever. So if you get something you don't want, but because it was cheap, and you sort of think, well, I'm not real happy with this, so I think you just got to do your homework, and obviously when it comes down to crunch time and you're ready to make that decision, that final walkthrough, maybe one of the displays, checking out the room space, size, area, and make sure you can, because you remember, like a one-off visit, that might feel okay for a one-off visit, but you've got to remember you're going to live in it, potentially forever or
exactly.
For a long period of time.
That's the thing too with the B&B style tiny homes. You might go and stay in one for a weekend and think, I think I could do this full time. Make sure you're looking at the design. Is it something that you can live in every single day? As far as the layout, the kitchens, because B&B style tiny homes tend to have the bigger picture windows, and because they're making it a beautiful escape for a weekend. So we think there's a difference. So I'd love your feedback on that. But
a lot of people like the big windows and that, and then you get that. I get asked that question quite a lot. Do we do bigger windows? Yeah, of course we can put bigger windows in, but I guess we work on the theory that if you want to live in a fishbowl, you put big windows in. And
but those bigger windows that are solid, they don't open.
Yeah, a lot of them just fixed glass.
They're fixed glass.
Yeah.
So in a home, you want that cross ventilation, you want the breeze, you want to be able to open your windows.
I guess if you're right out in the bush and there's no one around and that sort of stuff, and it's fine to have heaps of exposure and just to look out the view. But I think you've got to look at things from the point of view that if you're in an area where there might be passing traffic or people floating around, you don't want to have to put curtains on at night time. So we've sort of worked on the theory of proportional size windows to suit the size of the room, and that way you can sort of get around without having to put window coverings on, just so you can keep looking at your view, So
and not everyone's looking at you.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, because that may not be a pretty sight.
Okay, next hurdle to overcome. There's no local tiny house builders for them to go and have a look at.
To go and visit, okay. Well, I mean, that's the beauty of the Google, I guess. I mean, we've only we've only just started tapping into it. I mean, my wife's been on for a while, but I'm a bit slow on the mark.
You're a
off
dinosaur.
the mark there. Yeah, I'm a bit of a dinosaur when it comes to the Google. But hey, with that, obviously. You can look at tiny homes from all around the world, but you obviously want to look at ones that are in your country or in your state, so it's easily to actually deliver it to your place. It's no good looking at American tiny homes because you're obviously not going to bring one from America. So
good for
great ideas. Good for some ideas,
and also too the American style. A lot of them are a heck of a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Are we able to do that here in Australia, that size? They have different rules.
Yeah, but a lot of them, they put them on the back of these big, I guess, Dodge Rams and big F400s or whatever they are, and they're massive. They're like horse floats, on the back of the trucks and stuff, But they're massive, like they're huge. There's you can do, obviously, big tiny homes in Australia, but you sort of got to sort of work out what your environment is, where you're going to place it, how much you want to spend. Do you want to move it around a little bit? Do you want to be a bit more versatile?
I tell you, we had a client this week. I'm sorry, they're not a client yet, but we've had a conversation with this couple this week, and they've had the best idea, and I love it, and so we're going to share it with you because you might want to do it too. So what they're going to do is have the you can jump in here. The larger home.
Okay, what we're doing, we're actually. It was their idea, so I can't take the credit for it. at building basically two tiny homes. So you got one that'll be their main base model, base home that'll have,
and it stays.
It'll have the awning and our deck on it, the built-in spa into the deck, and all the mod cons in the actual tiny home itself.
Yep.
And then what we're going to do is build another tiny home that's more versatile, but it's going to be all incorporated into the package. So when you look at it aesthetically, it looks like it's all part of the one.
So it's like an
L-shaped home. Like L-shaped
home, right?
But
and so when they want to go away,
so when they want to travel around Australia, what they're going to do, they can just hook up the smaller versatile one, and they can just take off.
So it will have a kitchen. The kitchen will be in the smallest side.
It'll still be self-sufficient, like the original, like the main home. But so then when they travel around Australia, they're going to put tenants or B&B, the main home.
Okay.
So whilst they're away, they get the rental income coming in, and then they can just take off for 2 or 3 months of the year.
Okay.
And,
I can't wait to see the design of that, how it's drawn up and how it all works together and how you go from one to the next. And that's very exciting. So that's a really good idea.
So the second part of that, like the versatile one, will just be the normal, the smaller 2.4 wide tiny home that you can just tow behind the 4B. We'll make sure it comes in around that 3-ton mark, so you can just tow it with their normal 4-wheel drive. And probably 7.2 metres long still, but it's just going to be single level, so it won't need a loft in it. So it'll just be a smaller scale, I guess, than the main home, but the main home will still have the loft. Right. And a whole kitchen and do it. So it's going to look pretty good. Pretty excited about that. You'll
have to excuse me. I'm holding the selfie stick thing to keep this, and I'm a bit wobbly because I've been using one of those big hedger. What are they? It's a massive hedger, and it's very heavy. So I've got no strength left in my arms to hold this selfie stick still.
You sure that's what it is, Dar? You haven't had too much of that wine, have you,
I haven't had wine yet. I'll get there. Okay, so the next hurdle. I'm not sure if I have enough deposit to start the process.
Yeah. Well, okay, a lot of the banks, because if you're going to borrow money for a tiny home, they'll look at it as just the loan facility they'll set up is like a personal loan. And most banks just traditionally only charge 50% on a personal loan, and the main reason for that is unless you've got security like land or a home or something somewhere else that they can actually finance against, so they've got their security. If you're at that stage of your life, or at that stage you don't have any other assets, and the bank doesn't have any other security, the general norm is they'll only loan 50%.
So you need more of a.
So if you're looking at around about $100,000 tiny home, you'd probably want to have a savings of $50,000 to put down before the bank will fund the balance of the home. So there's finance companies that are starting to look more into it now. I know a couple of tiny home companies have their own in-house finance. We don't at this stage, but there is some companies that have a bit of in-house finance going on. I'm not sure of their rates. But it's all pretty cheap at the moment anyway.
But don't let that stop you. Talk to us about that first.
Talk to us about it. We might be able to work something out.
Maybe do a lease situation or something. We'll work on it. There's so many tiny house builders. Where do I start? I think we sort of answered that already. I might jump on to the next one.
Yeah, okay.
How do I know if the price I'm quoted is a fair price?
Well. Fair price. Well, what's a fair price for a tiny home? I guess it's like anything, you get what you pay for.
Sorry.
Do you want me to hold that
down? I think
so you can have a grog, right?
Yes, I need a wine.
Good on you. Let me hold. I might be a bit steadier than you. What was I talking about?
Fair price.
Fair price. Okay, fair price.
Fair price.
Just some rough figures. I've looked at some rough prices of some tiny home builders around the area. They're working at around about that. If you look at the actual footprint of the tiny home and the price they're selling for per square metre, they're generally hovering around that sort of $4,500 to $5,000 per square metre. So
jump in there.
Jump in.
Make sure that no matter who you're looking at for pricing and the sizes, divide it by the square metre of the home to give you a square metre rate. You do that with housing and you do it with tiny homes because then you're really seeing apples and apples. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Because at this stage, just coming into the market, into the tiny house market, we're, I guess, pricing ourselves competitively with 2.4 wide models. As you're aware, we do the 3 metre wide models. and at this stage, the only company in Australia doing the 3 metre wide. And if you ask me how I do it, I'll have to kill you. But yeah, I've worked with RMS to make sure it's all legal, above board. It's an easy to move our tiny homes around. You don't need a permit. It's no different to driving a normal tiny home. You just got to tow it with the right towing vehicle. So you don't need a permit.
As you do most of the time.
But because our homes are 3 metres wide, not 2.4 metres wide, our square metre rate ultimately will be cheaper than the other tiny homes. So I suppose if you want to look at value for money at this stage, we're probably really good value for money.
But we're probably at some point going to have to lift those prices because we're
actually
building very keenly right now.
Actually, I've got to say, we've got to put a disclaimer out there because prices are already going up.
Yeah, the materials are going up.
My Bondor company, the wall fabrication company, 8% price rise. My trailer company, 6% price rise.
Yeah.
So
and we're absorbing that at the moment, but it's
got to go up at some stage. In the coming months, we will have to.
So I wonder whether we do a lock-in with the current prices, maybe.
Yeah. We can do that. We could probably look at doing that. We can launch
for
that
this year. Maybe we lock in and we hold the prices. For
I've
this
just
year.
got to chat to our suppliers to find out when they're going to lock in their price rises. So we'll keep you up to date with that. So
well, that brings me to the next questions. So the variations. Okay, so. Like with building a home, they can sting you big time. So how do we do it, and how does that compare?
Okay.
A lot of our stuff is already included.
When I was building custom homes and unit blocks and all that sort of stuff, I'd price a job to finish the job and include all the inclusions I believe you needed in that home. It was just the way I operated. Often it meant I lost a lot of jobs because I seemed more expensive on the outset, but long story short, we weren't more expensive. When time people add up all the variations and all the extras.
And what you mean by that is it might have been one PowerPoint in a room and you put in
that's right.
two or three, we'll put in that type of thing, right?
We'll bung in a heap of PowerPoints, heap of light switches. We swung over now to the smart wiring, so all our lights now are all smart wired, and if you've
let us know if you want us to do a bit of an info thing on that.
Bit of a spiel
very,
on that.
very cool.
It's unreal. What it means, you can put your switch anywhere. If you've got a mobile phone, you can control all your lighting from your mobile and all that sort of stuff. You know, I mean, it's probably a bit rough if you're in bed and turn your lights off with your phone because you can't reach the light switch. But hey.
A lot of people like to do that. They say, Siri, turn my lights off or something. I don't know. It's all a whole new world out there.
It's a new world now, I tell you. Well,
yeah, I don't use my light. I just walk around in the dark. Next question. I don't have a 4.5 ton truck to tow a tiny home. So
okay, well, couple of ways. Our first
delivery
is free anyway. It's a complimentary service from Havenwood Tiny Homes. So we'll deliver our your home for free. Actually, we say to the gate because just in case we get to the gate and it's really hard.
That's right. We've got to go across 3 creeks and up a mountain and
all that sort of stuff. So we'll what's the question again, Dara?
Don't have a 4.5 ton.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay, so what I do at this stage, and I don't have a 4.5 ton truck either. So I actually hire my trucks for deliveries from Kennard's Hire, and they're all serviced. They're all got all the insurance and all that sort of stuff, and it's easy for me just to whip down, hire the truck for the day or 2 days, depending on the turnaround and where the delivery to. Drop the tiny home off and bring it back, or you can just use a local transport company.
That's right.
Lots of companies will deliver tiny homes and
There's
relocate
plenty
tiny
around
homes.
Now. There's a lot of tiny towing companies now.
Yeah, heaps of companies.
Yeah.
So don't let
that stop you.
Don't let that stop you getting into a tiny home, because it's a great lifestyle. I mean, lots of people that have come to us and clients and staff, they've stayed in tiny homes for a weekend, loved it, you know, just it's or B&B or something like that. So and they're thinking, we can do this, you know.
The next hurdle or question, $80,000 to $100,000 seems a lot for a tiny home.
Oh,
how do you answer that?
Well,
it's a home. It's a full home.
Go on Google a 21-foot caravan and see what's that's going to cost you. You know, new. I'm talking new, not second hand.
Yeah. What are they?
Well, I mean, you're talking 100 grand plus. I mean, with all the bells and whistles and all the optional extras, 140, 150 grand. So,
and what is the stuff they make caravan kitchens out of? It's very fine.
Yeah, they
what
use
is that?
most of the companies.
It's like a marine
and it's
ply.
all about weight, obviously.
It's a thin ply.
Yeah, it's plies and all this sort of stuff, and it's. I mean, obviously they've done that
now
to keep
you're
the
losing
price.
that. What's wrong with your muscles? The
Am I losing? Is that falling down? Or is the phone slipping? I think you haven't tightened the screw up enough, no? Righty. What was I talking about? Oh yeah. We'll use the actual same materials you put a kitchen in your house. So we'll use all those same materials. The windows are all N4 rated domestic residential windows that we put in our tiny homes. So it's something that you'd be used to in our homes. There's nothing outside the square, you know.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
People want to build their own tiny homes. So.
I've heard this story plenty of times. And the nightmare that it's turned into, or it doesn't get built.
We've had a lot of conversations.
Yeah, lots of people
with people
say,
who've started
either started or going to start, and
yeah.
before they walk into our tiny homes, they'll bring out their plan and they show. I had one lady, it was so funny. She came over. Now, like, I know tiny homes. I've got this. I've been studying tiny homes. I've been doing this stuff forever. I've got my plans. Let me show you your plans. And she raced back the car to get her plans. And I said, yeah, sweet. Okay, well, listen, we'll come for a walk for hours and then we'll crack them open. We'll have a look at your plans. Anyway, she came for. I did a walkthrough with her through our tiny homes with this lady, and sort of by the end of the walkthrough, she pulled the plans out of her pocket and screwed it up, and she said, "I won't be needing these."
That's and you know what? And also we've learnt a lot from people coming through and saying,
"That's been great."
So,
for sure. It's
that collaboration is what we love.
Hey, in saying that, I'm not saying she didn't have some good ideas.
Yeah.
And I'm not confessing to be an expert by any means. Hey, I'm a builder. We do our best.
We learn every day, and we learn from everybody.
But I think what was interesting, her major issue was in layout and design. So. And just the mechanical way it actually worked. A lot of people might look good on paper, or they've got their scale wrong in their drawing, and just the toilet sitting on top of the vanity or something like that. You know, so it's I suppose your companies that have been in the industry for a bit now, they've worked out the loophole, the drawbacks, and they've worked, tried to make their home work better than say a novice.
Actually, I've got a question for you who's watching. Have you seen the toilets that the little vanity sits on top of the bowl of the toilet? So when you wash your hands and you flush, the water comes up, you can wash your hands, and then you go down, and that water then is what goes into the toilet bowl. So you're actually reusing that water. What do you think about those? Because it is very... It's very space saving.
Yeah,
it's a little
room.
bit more expensive, but we could put them in. So let us know. Have a little bit of a look at it and see what you think. We could put that in.
Yeah, I suppose.
Thank you, Vivian, for your comment.
I mean, obviously, with that, that's if you've got a water toilet, so a flushing toilet.
Yeah,
use
of
that sort
course.
of setup,
Yes.
But with the compost toilet, I don't think I'll be wanting to reuse the fluids out of that.
Okay, yeah, I got you. All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yes, I do. Next question that people we've heard is, and see, look, you're tipping it again.
Sorry. Oh, there we go.
I've seen some kit homes for $30,000. What do they mean by that?
Yeah, well, I think if you don't know a lot, like you maybe think you know a lot, and then when you get into it and you buy your kit home, it's all the extra overs you've got to still include into that home.
So is
not
that
only,
someone who's bought a shell and putting it together themselves?
No, I think I think where the question comes from is people that have seen the flat pack homes, and they've sort of got their home, and then by the time they've paid so much for that, and then they've got to get the sparky in, they've got to get the plumber in.
And is this like a kit home that would be on footings though, like
no,
still a tiny home?
No, tiny home.
Okay, on
tiny
wheels.
Home,
Okay.
Flat packs or whatever, or kit tiny homes.
Do we do those?
We do the shells, but I guess where I'm going with this is that don't think, oh wow, that's cheap. I'm just going to do that myself, and away I go. And you know what happens? You end up coming unstuck because you don't realise how much all the other costs all add up to the final costs of your tiny home. You know, so
that's right.
And not to mention, I mean, you know, no disrespect, but you might be a white collar worker that's never used a hammer before or a screw gun, so it might not come up as pretty as you think it might come up.
But in saying that, what could be great is if it's something that you really, really want to do yourself, is approach us or a tiny home builder and get your shell, work with them on the design, and then do all your fit out, do your cladding, do your roof, so it still feels like your home and you've been involved in the build process. So, you know, that's an option too. Doing all the inside, putting their own kitchen in.
I mean, people want to put their own mark on it, so we do the kit tiny homes. We build the whole shell, so you get all of our engineering, I guess, homework that we've done, and all that knowledge and experience that we've done to actually get the shell, and the whole structure up to a standard.
So you wouldn't have, you know, the cladding on the outside. It would come just with the bond or walling that's inside this.
With our shell models, they're actually already waterproof. So the facades or the cladding and the roof line that we put on at tiny homes is purely aesthetics. So it's just to make it look pretty. And that way you
that's
can
just
actually
an extra bit of insulation, really.
Oh yeah, it is extra insulation. And then that way you can put your own stamp on it.
You could put whatever on it. You could paint it. You wouldn't. Have to do anything.
That's it. Or we can use our mate from John O's Signs and put vinyl sticker. Have I told you about the camo tiny homes? Have I talked about that one, Dale?
Yeah, but
well, we can actually because
we're not going to
because
do that.
our homes are built out of Bondor, right? You could
He wants to do a camouflage tiny house. Yeah. Please tell him it's not a
good
idea.
Find your setting right where you're going to put your tiny home. Take a top-notch photo of that spot, looking at where the tiny home is going to be placed. We can actually reproduce all of that trees and goannas crawling up the trees and cockatoos flying, whatever. Anyway, grass, whatever's in the background, we can actually reproduce that on the tiny home. So we're talking full-blown camo, right? When we get invaded by China, mate, you're just going to disappear.
It's not a good idea.
But hey, really? It looked great. It looked great. It would. Well, actually, it would look great. You couldn't see it because it's...
No, I don't see you.
That'd be fantastic. I can't...
Just say no. Just if you're commenting, say, no, Rick. No camo houses.
Please. I want someone to do a camo.
Not today. Not on my watch. Yeah, okay. Yes, camo. No.
Oh, was that Stoney? Yeah, good on you, Stoney. Yeah, you beauty.
No. Okay, so the last question. Hi, Rachel. The last question that we have for today is that I'm worried about council. This is that comes up a lot.
Yeah, aren't we all?
Aren't we all?
Aren't we all worried about
We won't start.
Listen, we won't even go there. But listen, I think a lot of councils are roughly around the same sort of guidelines. At the end of the day, the New South Wales
houses,
New South Wales state legislation says you can have 2 caravans on your farm. On a residential house block, you can have 1 caravan inside a residential house block. If a family member is going to live in it, or someone that actually owns a property or close family, you can live in it permanently, and you don't require council permission to do that. And then from there, there's other what would you call it?
There's new. It's called an activity application. Some of the local councils have got that now, that you just have to simply fill in that you're going to put a relocatable home on or caravan on your place for your family. And it looks like a 1-page document. So you just have to check with your local council. But
but talk to us on it, because there's I think one of the big things as soon as you say to a council officer tiny home, like the alarm bells start ringing, because it's new. It's new. They're just not ready for it, and they're just at this stage. A lot of councils, they're changing. A lot of councils are starting to realise that
how good it is.
How good it is. I mean, blimey, Charlie, you got You know, farmers out there, 100 acres, 1,000 acres. These guys are struggling to make a living. You know, like, who cares if they stick a tiny home out in the middle of the bush somewhere? Right? Really, especially
if you're off grid.
If it's off grid, like there's no carbon footprint. I mean, you leave wheel tracks when you take the place out of there. You know, like it's not a problem. But hey, they're working on it.
What we've got to remember is that in Australia, it's still in its infancy, little toddler. We're toddler stage. And what's great is that it's only going to grow. Because more and more people will realise that things like a pandemic aren't going to go away. And they just need to pivot. They need to change their lifestyle. They've got some big things, big decisions that they're making. And it's something that's going to become more and more normal for people to do, not as like this little grassroots movement that's here. We see it as growing bigger and bigger and bigger as more and more people decide that they really want to get out of that rat race.
Well, the thing
you know what? You know what's amazing? What's great about?
No, you just talk.
I'm just going to take the floor for a sec. What's great about this, I think, about this pandemic is that it's made people realise that they can work from home. Big companies, big corporations, you can work from home now. You can homeschool. You don't have to physically be driving 2 hours to your office anymore. You might have to go in once a month. So it totally gives you a whole new way of looking at life. You know, we're looking now, we're having phone calls to our doctors.
That's right.
We don't have to go to a doctor's surgery anymore. We're having, there's all of this new way of doing life that is actually, instead of it being bad, it's an opportunity to do something different. So, don't get me started. I'm very excited.
Interestingly, our last couple of clients have actually, our second loft in a tiny home, they're actually going to be, what do you call it, studies, offices, home office. So they're not actually... because they're with the COVID and all the virus stuff, they've realised, or their employee or whatever has, they're already working from home, but instead of being stuck in their concrete jungle unit box in middle of the city,
well, here's a prediction
still
for you.
do it out in the bush.
I reckon down the track. So the big Sydney high-rise skyscrapers, and a lot of them are going to become. They'll have to turn them into maybe home office unit blocks because a lot of people won't need to go into work anymore every day. Oh, who knows? But it's a thought. And this is just opening up a whole new way of doing life.
So, but wouldn't you rather be living out here in the bush, out with the snakes and the spiders and all that sort of stuff?
Not everyone wants to.
Toughen up, princess,
I had a little baby brown right near the clothesline the other day, so it's not... I'm not a snake lover, so...
But it's. I think it's not like in at home, out in the bush, you're on a farm somewhere, maybe renting some.
Got a question.
Some square metres from somebody.
We've got a question from Rachel. What are some healthy, non-toxic insulation? So, do you know much about your?
Non-toxic. Okay. Well, I know because our actual homes, the whole structure of our homes are done with polystyrene. Which on its own and exposed to sinuses and whatnot is obviously going to be toxic. So what that means is that people are going to, it may affect them in whatever way it affects them, But because of the way the homes, the walling is actually sheeted in colour bond, and then when they clip together, it's actually like a sealed joint, and we actually over and above that seal that joint. So the smell, the exposure to polystyrene is not going to happen. There is no exposure to it. A lot of tiny homes, they use the internal cladding will be plies and whatnot. So they obviously use different paints and different sealers to seal those.
Okay, so the question is there pure wool we can get in Australia as insulation?
Pure wool. Okay.
Walling. It wouldn't fit in ours because ours is already
That's
solid.
Right, yeah, because our walls are actually already solid walls. Our walls are actually already insulated. Already insulated.
You don't need to put anything else inside.
My understanding is most of the other tiny homes around Australia, they're built from steel framed or timber frames, so they insulate in between their timbers. So, and yes, you can use solid wool.
Yeah, and you can get wool insulation.
Wool insulation, yeah. The other thing we'll do...
we talked about this before in a previous live, I don't remember which episode, but the bowel, like as far as...
Ah, yes.
bell rating.
Yeah. Gone through this process. I think we've mentioned that we're in the process of getting a home approved as a principal place of residence. With that, you've got to do a overall basics report, they call it, which comes up with all the insulation qualities, the thermal qualities, the sound qualities, and all that sort of stuff. Well, our home passed with flying colours. And when I was chatting to the lady doing our basics report, and I said, well, why do tiny home builders struggle to get the required basic report or get approved? No, the bell rating's to do with fire.
Okay.
Bell is fire. Okay, so there's two things here.
Okay. Yep.
So because the rooms are smaller and you've got large windows, so it is very hard to get a tiny home to meet the basics report, all the council requirements when it comes to the ratings that they're after.
Okay.
But ours, because of the way we've actually constructed our homes, ours pass with flying colours, so it is was great for us.
Yeah.
Now, in regards to bell is more to do with fire and fire rating.
Fire rating. Yeah.
Our homes can come up with all the bell requirements, because what we'd actually do, the polystyrene at the moment that we install in our homes is not a fire rated polystyrene, but we can for an extra cost, we can actually put the fire rated polystyrene in.
And then the mesh screens, and there's a few other things that have to happen.
Just little things like you got to put skirts around the tiny home so the embers from fires can't come up underneath your home.
But the thing is, we know how to do it.
Yeah.
So if you are looking, if you're in a bushfire prone area, it's a little bit more expensive, but
to meet those bell ratings, a combination of you've got to put gutter guards in, wire mesh on your fly screens, skirts around your home, and then of course the actual insulation itself on the home has got to be fire rated as well.
And the best thing is that your home, you can, if you see fires coming and you're under immediate threat, you just
that's the beauty of any tiny home. Hey,
down the road.
Hook it off and outrun the fire, bro.
That's it.
Just take off. So, and I think down south where I've had a lot of the fires, I think if people are definitely looking at it from that perspective, because a lot of people knew the fires were coming.
And in New South Wales, the government's actually given a lot. They've done
There's actually now
that you're allowed to have
2 years.
Yes.
They've actually said now on farms
any sort
and
of
on
block
property
of land
that has been affected by fires, you can actually grab a tiny home or caravan. They've actually said caravan.
Yes.
And you can actually live in it for a couple of years.
Yes, on your block.
On your block, till you get on top of your things financially, so till you build a home.
Yeah.
So, but the beauty of ours is you can actually get our homes approved as the actual home itself.
Yes.
Which is a great asset, I reckon.
I think so.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Sure.
Yeah. So we've finished our questions for this week. Please leave a comment. Let us know if you want us to raise anything next week. So what we're doing next week is so we're sitting outside the Maverick model, and behind me, which I'll take you up, I'll just give you a little look in a second, is the Jolie on our display area here. And both of those display models we've now finished with. We've done our time with. So both of them are going to be for sale. So next week, we're going to take you through them, and they will be up at a very keen price to just drive away no more to pay, or whatever.
Drive away no more to pay, as is. Yeah, we've got some new models we'd like to put in their place.
Yes.
So we've
our Emerson models just about done, and what else? Oh,
we're going to do a walk through the a client home there. Was that next week as well? Geez, we're going to be flat out next week, no?
No, not next week. No. We're doing that the week after, because just after that home is going to be filmed for television.
Yeah.
And just before we go to air, for filming, which will be happening that week, we'll do a little walkthrough for you. So it'll all be ready to go. Yeah. Yes, you can come and visit the displays. So please give us a call. Yeah. Our number is on our website, or use the contact form on our website and get in touch with us, and we'll call you and arrange a time to come and see us. Yeah. Or if you are too far away from us here in Jamberoo, then we can do a video walkthrough of the tiny homes with you while you're on the phone.
Yeah, while you're on the phone, we show you what's going on, show you all the bells and whistles and all the inclusions.
There's no bells and whistles.
I'll tell you what.
So what I'll do, I'll just quickly show you up the back.
Yep.
And
we've got a couple of pallets of bricks in front, but that's all right.
yeah.
No, that's right. Just take a shot. She's right. No, you can still
That
see it,
won't
though.
look very nice.
No,
All right.
take a shot. Go and have a look.
Okay. So here we are. So here's our display. I'll just give you a pan around if you haven't seen it before. This is our own farm. Down the front of our farm, there's Rick and the dog on the veranda. And then up the back there is the Jolie. And that, next weekend we're going to have a walk through it, and then it will be for sale, ready to deliver to your place. It is the largest model we have, and it is beautiful. Everybody loves the rusticated tin finish that we have. The grass here is just lovely and green with all the rain, and yeah, it's just a beautiful part of the world. So if you can make it down, we'd love to have you. Come for a visit, have a cuppa, jump off that jetty into the water, sit on the deck with us, and yeah, so we will see you next week. Please leave some comments if you want us to touch base with anything or answer any questions, and we'll catch you next week. We'll see you later.
All right.